Okay, basically in here, I want you to follow this tutorial. So in here, basically, so I'll put the link in the chat. So I can extract the thing and get it to my own slides and try to explain it. But I thought this is better. So you learn two things by this. The one is you learn to read documentation, and the second one you learn from the publisher itself. So this is basically to both things, like Java and the Kotlin. So we'll follow the Java code in this guide. Okay, so go to this create an Android app. So you can have this link in your thing. So I'll just do what is there. Okay, so I won't basically follow up the tutorial. So that is for you to follow when this thing ends. So I'll follow the things that are in the tutorial. So make sure you have the latest version of Android Studio. So you can go to create new project. Okay, in there you can see there are several activities that you can see. The one have basic activity and bottom navigation activity. They say login activity, Google Maps activity, add more bags activity. So what is this activity means? So from here, let's try to understand the concepts inside this thing. So we are working on this phone and tablet. So there are other things as well. There are OS and Android TV, automotive and Android things. So let's work on the phone and tablet. So in here, activity means one activity means a one screen. Okay, so one phone screen that you see is a basically activity. So we have a main activity. So that activity is the thing that will be opened in the first place. Okay, so I'll go for the empty activity. Okay, so now they are asking what is the name for this. So I'll name this thing basically my first step or something. So it will have the package name com.example.myfirstapp. So I'll explain this part as well. So come here means basically commercial. So like .com. So if you are doing commercial application, so you can have com here, and you can have your own company name. So I'll have so you can have your company name or your organization or anything here. So basically you don't have to change it as well. No need to change it. So first doing it. So let's keep it as com.example.com. So then you have to give the save location. So the save location, you go for, I don't have. I'll name my EE, and inside that EE I'll have the name of my first app. Okay, so here we can choose the language we want. So we'll go with the Java. So what does the minimum SDK mean? So minimum SDK means, so when we are creating a project, so basically when you are creating normal Java project, so we say that Java version is 1.5 upwards and things like that. So in the mobile application also, so if you have used this Play Store, when you try to install some applications, they say your Android version does not support by this application or something like that. So we are defining that here. So you want to use new Android features and use many new features in your application. You should keep this in a higher level, like at least more than Lollipop or something. So at least go for Marshmallow. So if you want to use the all the newly latest features. So if you are using only the basic stuff and you want your application to be available to many people, so you can go for a lesser one. So in here, since we are not using much advanced features, we can go for the least one, Android API 60. So basically 99.8 of the devices uh, can run my application. So when you go into the newer versions, so if we go for here, so only 53.5 devices can use your application. So you have that disadvantage, but at the same time, when you put your minimum SDK into a really low value and get the 99.8 or some value, you will be restricted by using the new Android features. So you have to do all these some things that can be easily done using new features. You will have to do it in the hard way. So, but now I go for the API 60. So then we can think. So unlike other programming languages, if you are trying to develop Android applications, the one thing you should have is patience. So these builds really take a huge amount of your life and your time. So basically, if you are a multitasker, yeah, that's really good to use this, because while it is building, you can do some other work and come back to it. So see how much time it takes to even start the project without having only one activity. Okay. So now we can see some files here. That in here we can see main activity. So this is the uh, function that will be running in the first place. Okay. So we have to define that in this Android manifest. So this Android manifest is like a build guide. So we are guiding, we are saying this is the file that have basic characteristics. So in here we are saying that our application basic main activity is this main one, and it is a launch. Launch means it can start. So from here, this activity is the one that should basically start in the first place. Okay, so there is a question from Lavan asking whether we can change the minimum SDK from one to another. So basically, after creating the app, we can change the minimum SDK. So we can do that. But the thing is, if you have already used some features, so if you are going from like Android 16 to Android 20, no issues. But if you are going from Android 20 back to Android 16, there can be some functions that you are already using, but that is not available in the 16. So it will give some errors. So you have to debug those things and you can do it. So basic idea is we can change the minimum SDK from time to time as we need. Okay. In this Android manifest, we are saying what is the basically how my app should be working. So we have this main activity. So in here, we are saying the content view take from resources, layout, and activity main is the content. So we can go to the resources and go to the layout, and we can see this is the activity. Okay, so for each activity we have a layout file. Okay, for each activity we have a layout file that gives the basic design idea. So I will hide this. As you can see, this is the close this part as well. So this is basically the view. So it is basically a XML file, right? So in this XML file, we are saying that our app should look like this. So our visible content is widgets and layouts are in here. Okay. So we can have a split view at the same time, and we can have a design as well. Okay. So layout file is the one we are using for the UI part. Okay, so UI will be defined in the layout file. So manifest file is basically where we are saying our application should be built like that, this. And then we can see Gradle scripts. Here we can see some idea two things. The one is Gradle for project and the other one is for the module. So in this project, there is only one module named app. So if there are several modules, then they will be differently built. So I'm not going to do a on the Gradle. So we are using the default thing. And here for the version we have, for the module we have another Gradle file. So these values, see, Kaggle SDK version is 30, but minimum SDK version supported 16. So all the details are in here, right? So this is the basic files we have, but right now we are working with two of these files. What are the two files? The layout file, the activity main, and the main activity file. Okay. Then so we have our app, right? So here in the activity main, so we can go to the XML file and we can read. So we have some text view which have the text hello world. So in the design we can see, right? So I'll put this like this. See, hello world is there. So what we can do is run this application. So inside Android Studio, in order to run this, there are two methods we can do. Okay. So in here, I can go to this AVD manager. So the AVD manager, I can have some virtual devices. So we are calling these things emulators. So inside, by creating a virtual device, you can give, like in a phone, you can give these. There are different phones that you can use. So you can go for Pixel, Pixel 2. You can go for Pixel or XL or any device you can use, right? So I have here a Pixel 3, I think, yes, a Pixel 3. So I'll be using this for as an emulator. So you can even use your own phone. Okay, you can use your own phone as a without running an emulator. You can use your phone, right? So when you are using your phone, you have to like basically enable USB debugging and install the USB driver. And basically, when you come onto this point, your device will be there. So that will be installed to your device and you can run it from there. So if you have a low performance computer, don't try to run it as a emulator, because this emulator takes a considerable amount of uh, resources, which basically takes a huge amount of RAM and other things. So if your laptop or the computer have a low spec, go for the running on your phone. So it really helps. Okay, so let's run it and see. See, my machine is also getting stuck. So it takes considerable amount of resources in your computer to run. Okay. So let's wait for it to run. Okay, so our app is running. See, it takes 100% of my CPU and the 92% of my memory. Okay, so we can see, we can get the hello world, and it prints my name as the my first tab. So how did this work? So now we need to know how this happened. So what happens is basically the first thing that is running, since we have already defined the launch activity is activity main, the main activity will be running from this point. So it will basically set the content view to the activity main. So we are there. Okay. So now in the, I think in the tutorial, if you are following that, so while following up with me, go to the tutorial and see what they are introducing in there. So in here we have already ran our application. So build a simple user interface. So we'll do that part as well. So we'll take the next hour and we'll do the simple user interface activity, and we can finish today's lecture. So basically in this part, so basically they are teaching you to create a layout. So that includes a text box and a button. So like this. So it have a text box and a button. Then what it will happen is when you click on this button, it will go to a new activity and show the message. So that is what uh, is on this user interface. So they are basically teaching us to go from one activity to another while passing some messages. Okay, so in here they have really introduced us to this view group and view thing. So I will explain it with the layout file, so that is easy. So in here, so that now you can see this component tree. So in the first place, what is there? So here we have, so component tree means, so we have text view, that is okay, but before that we have a constraint layout. So we can go for the layouts and see there are things, constraint layouts, linear layout, linear layout, this is horizontal, and we have a linear layout that is vertical, and we have a frame layout and a table layout, a table row and page. Okay, so these layouts are, and uh, these recycler view, scroller view, we have some other containers as well. So you will learn what we are using them for. Like we are using these cards, card view and things like that when we are creating the application. For now, just think them about them as a some kind of a container. So if it is a container, we are calling them as view groups. Okay. So inside this view group, there can be another view groups or views. So views are like basic buttons, text fields, labels, and things like that. Okay. So that's the idea. So inside on this thing, what do we have? We have a view group. What is the view group? Constraint layout. And we have a text view. So in the text view, we have hello world. So let's go into the thing. So so they are saying that we have completed creative Android project lesson. Yeah, we have completed that. So they are asking us to go to the activity main XML. So make room for the layout editor, hide the project window. So those things. So we have that thing. Okay. Then just like I said, whatever the thing that is visible in here is basic XML code. So there's nothing else. So we are working on a XML file, but we can see the final design as well. Okay.
Sir,
Okay. Yeah.
so then if we are familiar with XML, then can we design interface that we want?
Using XML.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's what we do. So even though the design view is available, sometimes we are just going to XML and add the button, because we know in a, like in this constraint layout, you have to give out the place in the design view. So if you are using these other things like linear layouts, so basically we know that when we put a button, it will go there. So you don't have to open the design view. You can put a button right here.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So Lavan wants to know again about this view group thing. So so let's do something like this. So these things, we have these things, right? Text views, buttons, things that we deal with. Those are basic things that we deal with. So we can have a text view and a text field, things like that. And we can have different set of buttons, radio button, image button, and switches, things like that as well. So when we are placing them in an activity, we should have some content. Okay. Sometimes it can be a container where we can put these buttons and everything in places just we want. So we can put it in there without saying anything. So in the constraint layout, we can say likewise, you should be there or here like that. The constraint layout, we can likewise, we can ask that button to by saying that it should be in the middle. So likewise, we can, there are different layout methods. So in the constraint layout, we are just having some idea on the other. If you want to place a button or a widget using relative idea, relative where the button is, where the boundaries. So the constraint layout is the better thing. So in order to do that, there are layouts and there are containers where we can, where they can contain these widgets and buttons and text like that. So inside a container, there can be several views. And for a part of this thing, like for this part, again I can have another layout, which have a linear layout or something like that I can have. So again, that is a view group. That is why they are saying that in this, the view group is the first thing that should have. Like we cannot go and place just a button. So it should be a layout or a container in the first place. And then you can insert only views, or if you want to another layout, you can use another layout and put the other widgets inside that layout. Okay, yeah. So I think Lavan, your question is answered, and now Yahan have a question. So what is the difference between these two things? So this is basically the white one is basically how you finally see the application. So this is what you see in the activity, and in this view you have the blueprint. So in there you can see there's a button, there's text view, things like that. Right here you can basically take anything. So you can get the design only, or you can select the blueprint, or you can go for the board. Okay, then here also we can see show constraints and show tool tips, system UI. See, when we put the system UI only, this part is appear, because this uh, this thing only coming from the application. This my first app thing is header is from the system UI. Okay, so likewise we can get those things. So I'm not going to get that. Okay. Okay, then we can go to this point. This is basically auto connect to parent means the idea is like this. So we start with the main activity, right? So in the main activity, we can push a button or do something, and we may have gone to another activity somehow by an action. So if you put this auto connect thing, when you press the back button, you will go to the parent. Parent means the activity that was before, like basically just like a web button, back button in the web browser. But if we put this into not auto connect, we can define for a view what is the parent view. So it doesn't matter where you came from, like you have created this button and go to that view, but when you push the back button, it will go to its parent, which means that can be the home. So if you put this auto connect, it will come back to this specific activity that it leads to the other one. So when the auto connect is off, so it won't have the back button won't go back to the activity. So we can set that parent activity. Who's the parent? We can set that. Okay, so we learn those parts. So basically this, for now, we'll put this as a disconnected. Okay, then what we can do is, here we have 0, right? Default margins 0. So what you can set is, you can set 16 here. So the margin will be 16 for everything. So you can change this, okay? So for every view, you can change this. So for here, for the tutorial, I am going to use the margins as 60. So then we can do another thing, right? So we can select different devices for the preview. So we can put that to a tablet and see how does it look like, or wearable device, and see how our app look like. So basically we were in a Pixel 2, right? Not Pixel 2. We were in a Pixel 3a. So that is our phone. So this is a Pixel 3a. So likewise you can check. Okay, check, and you can go to that thing. Okay. So you have to when you are creating something, you have to do that. Okay, so let's go to the blueprint. See, when you are trying to adjust that, it will give you an idea what is your device, what is the device size that you are going to look into. So this is basically the view we have. So then we can go for the attributes. So for button, see, we can we get the constraint widget. So I'll explain that as well. Okay. So in this component tree, we can see hierarchy of the views. So in the first place, there's a constraint layout. Inside this constraint layout, we have this text view hello world and the button of this thing. Okay. So just like I said, so this is basically constraint layout is for what? It is for the relativeness. So here what we have said is wrap content. So the thing is, then what we can do is we can set, here we can do this thing. Can you see the size of the button is changed? So here also we can give out different margins for the button, and at the same time we can either remove the button, remove the constraint, or we can say this is the place it should be. So when we put it like this, basically You can check how these things change. The vertical bias, there is a horizontal bias, things like that. So you can check, right? So vertical bias means, so we can check how much biasness should be there for this button to happen place. So likewise, there are things, right? So basically, I'll have the start, end, and top and bottom. So basically, I'll add them like this. Okay, then let's remove these two things, and we'll try to create the new button. Okay, then we can go to the text, and we want user to write something, right? So we can have this plain text thing. Okay, so this is a edit test uh, widget. So basically, let's go for the design and blueprint. So it will be something like this. So you can type something in there. Okay. So then what we can do is by looking at this design, we can resize this. So that's where this design comes in handy. Otherwise, we won't have the idea, right? So, and also we can go for this system UI thing, and we can get the idea. Okay, then we can do it, and yes, then from the top one we can go and anchor it there. So we are telling that anchoring. Okay, anchoring means we are anchoring our text uh, edit test into the top of the constraint layout. So since the margin is 16, so 16 dp margin is there, and but it will be anchored there. Okay, then we can anchor it to the left side as well. See, both places we can see 16. Now what do we want? Now we want a button. So it is not that nice, so we can and get the button to here. Okay, then what we can do is we can this button we can anchor it to the text field. See, edit text field, we are setting the start, and we can anchor it to the top as well. Then we can say see, So in each of these text view, the text appears on a level, right? So we can right click it on the show baseline, and we can say that this edit text, we can like align that in there. Okay, so this button, then we can look to the other end as well. Okay, so this is the view that we have. So it should look like this. Okay, so let's run it and see. We have this new thing where we can write some things. But the thing is, the button is not working. The button is there, but nothing is happening. So now we know. So that's the basic thing. So that part is correct. Now what we want to do is, then we want to change this string. So we can change the string giving basically in the button. See, we can see the text. So basically that is a button, right? Basically it says the button. But the thing is, when we are doing these projects, we are not setting these strings in this same XML file. So what we are going to do is, we are having strings.xml. So in here we are giving the strings. Why do we do that? Because this app name that we when we are developing an app, this app name will be used in several XML files in several places. Okay, so if you put the my first app in all these layout files, what will happen is, when you want to change it, you'll have to go and search for all these things and you'll have to change it. Because of that, when we are working on these things, what we do is, we are basically adding it to the strings. So, and this comes in really handy when you want to do the localization. So you have these strings in here. So if you want to put the Sinhala thing, you can do the localization in this file itself. Okay. So then by looking at the translations editor means, we are doing that for all the some localizations. Okay. Then we can go for this add thing. So we can go for they will have a ask for a key and the default value. So in here, so if you are following the tutorial, it will be something like edit message or something as a key field, and for the default value we can put something like enter the message. a message. Okay, then we can add that, and we can add another thing for our thing for the button as well. So I'll set it as button send. And for the button send also let the value send. Okay, this is the translation editor. See, those things are added to that place. Okay, then what we can do is we can basically add these strings to the activity. So either you can add them in here, or you can go to the design, and in design what you can do is you can in the attributes there is a field name text. So in this text, see, you can see the strings resources. So if this is the text view, what I want the text is edit message. So I can give that. So for the button, I will give the text as send button. You don't have to do that. You can easily set it as at string slash the ID. Okay. Then we have to do some things on the responsive side. So this is before that we have to see. Now this we have this now. So let's change the size and see. See. Now it is not good, right? So what should happen is it should be responsive to support all the screen sizes. So what we are doing now is we are selecting both. So you can do that by selecting shift. Okay. By here you can change this number. Okay. Because I have added this one. That one. Why that thing is not supporting change? Okay. So since I have added that layout to the button. So basically now we want to make this thing to fill the gap. So we can create these two things and then we can go for a chain and we can say create a vertical chain. So now what will happen is, so we can go for this one and see. Let's zoom and see. you can see there is this chain. There is this thing like a chain. You can select this and you can see that go to the button and you can set the right margin to so we have a here we have the right margin. So we have to say what is the margin we should have from with button and to the text field. So we can set it to the 60 like that. We can set. Okay. Then in here we are saying that have the margin 16 as it is, but by giving it as this, so we are saying, so when you have space, go for it. So we are saying match the constraint. So now we can see, so if it is a tablet, so our text field will go on to that level. See, it will get resized. So what did we do? So we added a horizontal chain to these two things. Okay. By adding a chain, we have defined thing and yes, now we can run this and see how does it look. Okay, so it is there, but I have a issue. What is the issue? This button have a problem, right? So I have to give the 16 on that side as well for the margin. So now we try to do this. It should be okay. Okay. Now the margin is okay, so we can add something and click on the button. So there are some theories behind this design thinking, where when we are creating mobile application. So so that's it. So the layout is this. So we can run the thing and see. Okay. Now we should have what? The button should have some work, right? To do, otherwise, how can we work? So for that, we can create our own function. Now you will need this Java knowledge. Okay. So I am having a public function which doesn't have a return type, and I'll call it send message. Okay. For as a parameter, I am taking a view. The Android view as a parameter. So why I take it as a view? So when we are creating a button, for a button, we can actually give some action. So when this button clicked, what should happen? So in for that we can give out a function, okay, function or a method. So that method should be public, and that method should have a void return type, which means it shouldn't have a return type, and it should take a view as a parameter. So if those three things are there, you can set this thing as a output function action to a button. Okay, so we can go to the activity main function, and we can go to the design first. Then in here you can see on click, see, I can see my function, so I can set that. So in the code, if you go and see, you can see Android on click, and the function is there. The function should be on the same activity file for the Java one. Okay, so now see, you can see that before that there was a warning saying the send message function is never used, but now they are using it. Okay, so it is basically that thing. Then I am going to use some object name intent. Okay, the intent means basically intent is actually so how do I, so for now think about an intent as something that you are intent to do. So in application, so we are intentionally trying to do something. So in here our intention is to start another activity, right? So but before that we should have another what, another activity. So what we should do is first create another activity. So we can go for this new, and here for the activity we can go for empty activity like we had for our. So we can give the name display message. So this activity name is display message activity. Okay, so the layout name will be activity display message. So we are going to generate a layout file, and we are not setting it as a launch activity. So source language is Java. Okay. Now we have this display message activity as well, and for there we have again what we have the constraint layout on. Okay, then in here we will add a text view. And in there you put it in here, put it in here, and put it in here. And I'll 16 I don't have to actually say. Setting it. Okay. So text view will be there. Okay. Then for this, let's enable the auto connect. So when we come to this text view, so we should be able to go back to the one that is being called. Okay. Yes. Then that's okay. Now we can go to the send message thing again. So we have this main activity. So in the main activity, just like I said, I am intending to do something. So think about an intent as a pipe or something. So here I have this intent. Intent. New intent. So I give this same activity as the first parameter. So see, we can see for the intent there are several functions for the same thing. So one have no parameters. One takes another intent. Another one takes only a string action. And there is another thing, take string action and URI. Now this one take context, package context and a class. So that's what we are going to use. Then we are going to use display message activity dot class, because from this intent I am where I wanted to go is this display message activity. So that's why I am using that class. So and what is nice here is, so in this XML we have all these buttons, but in the Java file we don't have it, right? We don't know there are some editors and buttons and everything. So the Java file we don't have access to it. So do we have any attributes in it? No. So what we do is we have to create objects for all these things. So we have a edit test there, right? To do the add the code. So what we do is we are creating edit test, and we have this function called find view by ID. Okay, by this ID we know that inside the resources and ID we have added what? Edit text person name. So we can go and check that. So in this edit text, what is the ID? Edit text person name. So I'm going to change it as this, only to the edit text. So I come back to this point. Okay. One thing is edit text. I'm getting. Then I am trying to get this string out of this edit text. I'm gonna put it as string message is equal to edit text dot get text function. See, now we are using what? Abstraction. So we know by edit text dot get text, we are getting the text and we are setting that text into the string. And finally, we are putting this message into the intent. By using this intent, we are going to strong message. So we are strong message. Okay, then extra component, extra package. Dot extra message should be there. It is not there. Okay, just let's just okay. Sorry. So I would have first I would have to give it like in here. So when we are trying to put extra, we have to give some key. Okay. So in this method, I am going to put this as a public static. Why I am using static? So I can take it anywhere. So final is a keyword saying that it is not going to change. And string name extra message. In here, I'm going to put it as dot sample dot my first app dot message. So I have this thing, so I'm going to put that as the extra message. Okay, and for the extra message, I'm going to put the message I am getting from the edit test. Finally, I can start the activity, and for the intent, I am giving the intent that I have created and added this extra message. Okay, now the send message function is okay. So if you run this now, we can see that it will go into the next activity. But the thing is, the text field is not going to get set because we haven't done that part yet. Button is somewhere. See, it will go into another text field. But button is but the message is not updated. Okay. Now what we have to do is the thing we have in the where so for the main activity, so this part is correct, so it is happening. Now we have to come to the display message activity. So on create, it will come up to this point. So then what do we have to do? So we can get the intent. So intent had the message. So we are trying to get the intent that leads to this activity. So by get intent, we can get the intent from where this activity started. Then again, I can catch the message by giving intent dot get string extra. For the string name, I can give, since that was a static method, a static thing, I can just call main activity extra message because I have created it as a static thing, and I can get that message. Then what can I do? Then I have a text view, right? So I have a text view just like we did in the last time. Yeah, find view by ID, and then you can see r.id dot, we have a text view. Then we can give text view dot set text, and we can give the message. So that's it. So now this text view should have the message. We can get the message. So basically we have coded only on the two. We have created new function and we have set the function as the button section, and then we have coded on the on create button. Okay. Then our app does not have basically, even for now, so we don't have the back button, even though we have auto connected the thing. Okay. So for that, we have to say that what is the parent activity of the display activity, so that we can have the up arrow. So in here in the Android manifest file, we can see this activity is there, right? So now what we have to do is we have to add some field to it. Basically. So we have to say that main activity is the thing activity that is this guy's parent. So I can say Android colon parent activity name equals to main activity. So now when I build the application, see, we can see that arrow. So that's the idea. So we have finished the official build first step tutorial on the Android. So do you have any questions? Or did you guys didn't really understood anything? So can I get the raise of hands if you have understood something? Okay. So try to create your own application and try to follow this tutorial. So if you sign in, then you can get a badge as well. So when you finish doing this thing. Okay. So that is your first Android application. So then I think